Hello everyone, it's Lingling. So I have been working with resin for quite a while, and I thought today I would compare a few different brands of resin for you. Just in case if you are new to resin or if you want to try out some different brands of resin, and hopefully my review and comparison here will help you decide where to go next. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what I use resin for because the things that you are looking for might be different depending on what you want to use your resin for, right? So by the way, I'm wearing gloves because I will be holding some resin bottles and some of them are pretty dirty. So some people use resin for coating, they use resin as a top coat for their artwork, and some people use resin to apply them on countertop, tabletop. For me, I mainly use the resin to create, as you can see, these little accessories. I forgot to mention when I was filming this, by the way, you can purchase some of these pieces on my new Etsy store, so I will have the link down below in the description box. But the link should be dumplingdiy.etsy.com. I don't have that many pieces listed yet because I want to make sure everything looks perfect before I list them on Etsy, but I will be updating my Etsy shop often in the future. Alright, now back to the video. So I use them for casting pretty much, and as you can see, I've been creating those keychains and keychains and magnets and phone stands there. I'm a little bit obsessed with the cat paws, but I do have other things. Anyways, so I use them for creating those accessories, which means the most important thing for me is bubble free, or how easy it is to get rid of the bubbles from the resin. And if you use resin for other purposes, you might be looking for non-yellowing or the hardness of resin. But for me, really the most important thing for me is how bubble free my resin is. So today I am going to compare the following brands: Art Resin, Unicone Resin, Clearcast 7050, and the liquid diamond. Sorry, I finished the smaller bottle and this time I went for the bigger can here. And as well as another brand called, I believe, Pro Marine Resin, and that one is in my garage. I don't even want to go get it. I'll talk about the why in a minute. So let's start with Pro Marine. I have to say that one is my least favorite of all, and it stinks. My biggest problem with it is that it stinks, right? So that's actually the resin, the brand of resin that I purchased first. So when I started looking into resin, I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy all those VOC free, BPA free, non-toxic resin because they are so expensive. So, and I looked online, the Pro Marine resin seems to have pretty decent review, and the price is pretty decent as well. So they only costed me about, I think, $60 for the whole gallon bottles. But I really don't like them. So the number one reason I already said, because it stinks, and also it was the thickest resin, and which makes it really hard to get rid of the bubbles. And like after you mix the two parts together, you just see full of bubbles. And mine, for mine, I don't know how good it is at anti-yellowing, but my bottles, one of the parts, I don't remember which part, already looks pretty yellow. But to be fair though, I did buy that resin like over a year ago. And the smell of that resin actually kind of really discouraged me, because I really feel like I'm being poisoned because I wear a mask every time. And even though I'm wearing a mask, like my whole house would smell like bad every time after I used the resin. And that's also, I guess, why when I started looking into those more expensive VOC or VOC free resins, because I thought, you know, if I am going to work with resin on a regular basis, I'd better buy something that's better for my own health. Next, I am going to talk about Art Resin. So I don't like it for the purpose of making these thingies, right? But really there is nothing wrong with the resin itself, so let me tell you why. So this resin is advertised as non-VOCs, BPA free and all that, so it's indeed more healthy. So this resin barely has any smell to it, which is great, but my biggest problem is the bubbles. But to be fair though, these are advertised as art resin, not casting resin, meaning that they are meant for, you know, using to be used as a top coat for art pieces. So to be fair, that I am really not supposed to use them for making those thingies. And from watching reviews from other people and I guess their website, I think these are pretty good at anti-yellowing. But for me, if I pour them into those deeper molds, they do stay pretty thick, and it is extremely hard for me to get rid of the bubbles. But if you are looking for a resin to use to as a top coat for your artwork, then this resin might be a really good choice for you. And just saying, I didn't know there are differences between resins when I was first purchasing them, and that's why I bought those that are not meant for casting. But if you are a beginner, really you need to do some research and think about what type of resin, casting resin or art resin, what type of resin you want before making a purchase. Next, I am going to talk about the Clearcast 7050. So this resin, first of all, has a 2:1 mixing ratio. So this one is just okay. I don't hate it, I don't love it, but I probably wouldn't repurchase. So first of all, the Clearcast 7050 is from the same company that makes the liquid diamond resin. One second, the liquid diamond resin, and this one is more expensive, this one's cheaper, but there is another version, another choice that's even cheaper than this. I believe it's called the Clearcast 7000. And for the 750, I guess I didn't do enough research before purchasing, but I did see afterwards on their website that this one is the thickest among all three. So this one is thicker than the Clearcast 7000, which is thicker than the liquid diamond. Okay. Going back to the 7050, why I don't like it so much. One is because that it is so thick, that again, it makes it a lot harder to get rid of the bubbles. And I often soak the bottles in warm water before using them, which makes them thinner and easier to, you know, get rid of the bubbles. But for this one specifically, after I soak them in warm water, it will like speed up the reaction by a lot. I think for some reason they will be over reacting. I don't know what the right term is, but the chemical reaction will happen so rapidly that sometimes they, like, the work time for this type of resin is really, really short. Another reason why I don't like these so much is also because, like, this has only happened with this resin, I think. Like, sometimes it just leaves. So it could happen sometimes. I have another piece that I messed up, but I can only find this one. So sometimes after it cures, I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you can probably see it now, like right here. It leaves some of these like shiny spots on your resin piece, which is not nice, right? And also I talked about the bubbles, and you can see the back side here is not flat and it's full of bubbles, right? So this one, because it's also barely has any smell to it, I probably will finish using it. I will use it for experiments, right? Like say if I'm making something for the first time, if I don't know if that's gonna work or not, I probably will use this one to experiment, because this is a cheaper option than the liquid diamond. But will I repurchase it? No, because if I really want to buy some cheaper ones to use for experimenting, I probably will try the 7000 next, because that one is cheaper than this one. Another thing is that on the liquid diamonds bottle, it does say no VOCs, but here it doesn't say. And I'm not sure, because I checked their website. They do say on their website that all their resins are free of VOCs, but since this one doesn't explicitly say it on the bottle, I am really not sure of that. So next, since I already mentioned the liquid diamonds, why don't I just talk about this first? So because I already mentioned I finished my smaller bottles, so now I have repurchased the biggest bottles that they have. So this one does, just like 70/50, this one does have a 2:1 mixing ratio as well. And you are looking at the part B there, the partner, which is the one part. Yeah, this is probably my favorite resin by far, and I will still talk about why even with my favorite I still needed my Unicone resin in a minute. But for now, the reasons why I like it is, first of all, it is advertised as free of VOCs, which makes me feel safer, and just like most of the other resins that I am comparing, this one almost has no smell to it. And as you can see, the main reason why I like it so much is you can see the consistency here is really liquidy. It's really thin. So which makes it really, really easy to get rid of all the bubbles, including the micro bubbles in there. So this is something that I really, really like about this resin. And as you can see here, it does say extra low viscosity, which is absolutely true. This is the thinnest resin that I have tried so far. And it does say it's heat and yellowing resistant. I haven't tested that out yet. So for this one, it is on the more expensive side. But if you buy the 1.5 gallon option, I do believe that it turns out to be cheaper per ounce or per gallon compared to the 1 gallon Unicone resin. And also, I think this is also cheaper than the Art Resin. And next, I am going to talk about the Unicone resin, and I will talk about why I like this one too, and I will also talk about why I am still buying this even though I like the liquid diamond so much. So by the way, I did finish this bottle. I don't know if anyone else has the same problem with me. Like when I'm using them, I can never finish the two bottles at the same time, the part A and the part B. So that happened to both the Unicone resin and my liquid diamonds. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. My resin pieces are curing all right every time. So I don't know what's going on here. Anyways, so for The Unicone resin, they are also advertised as VOC free and like non-toxic and all that, so that's great. And just like most of the other resins that I have mentioned, these ones, they don't have much of a smell to them, which is also great. And this resin, as you can see here, is on the thicker side. But what I find about this resin is that if you soak the bottles in warm water, the resin does get thinner pretty fast. So compared to all the other thicker resins. So which means that even though they start out thicker, you can make them runnier by just soaking them for a couple of minutes in warm water. And usually if I am using these, I would still need to run them through my vacuum chamber, and I still wouldn't be able to get rid of like 100% of the bubbles, but I think it's already pretty decent. So most of the time when I use these, I would use colors or glitters, or I would add things to them. So if you look at this piece, the clear layer on the top, I would for sure use the liquid diamond for that, because I want there to be 0 bubbles. But if I am to use the Unicone one, I am just usually I would add like colors to it. But you might be wondering, since these ones are more expensive than the liquid diamonds, why do I still buy these ones? Did I mention that I repurchased these? So I bought the 1 gallon option this time. Anyways, so yeah, the reason is that the liquid diamonds are so thin, and there is a problem to that. So if you want to mix 2 colors, if you look at here, if you want to mix 2 colors, the liquid diamonds will be too thin that they will start mixing together. Even though when you pour them, say you pour them on different sides, right? But before they cure, the 2 different colors will actually start mixing together. And if you look at this top, this brown layer there, it was meant to be brown and yellow, and you can still see a little bit of that there, but it really becomes really not obvious just because of the thin consistency. They will start mixing together even if you don't want them to. So that's the main reason why, even though I like the liquid diamonds so much, I still purchase the Unicone resin. So I use the Unicone resin mainly for when I want to, you know, pour different colors. Here you can see blue, purple, and black. So when I want to pour different colors in the same layer. In terms of the resins that I want to try next, I am thinking absolutely the Clearcast 7000, because it is cheaper than 7050, and they also say that it's thinner than the 7050, so I'm really curious. And even if it doesn't work as well as the liquid diamonds, it is still much cheaper, so I thought it would be a good option for me to have, you know, in case if I want to like experiment with something, if I don't want to be using my most expensive resins right away. Another thing that I really want to try is called the Super Sap CCR by Entropy Resins. So that one, I've also heard really good things about it, but and I also heard that that resin is also really thin, which is what I like. It is pretty expensive, but I think if you buy like those really big bottles, they do get a lot cheaper. My concern with that one though is that it is not completely VOC free. So on their website, they do say that the VOC content in their resin is really low. So I don't know if there's any experts watching this video, if you know, like it's okay or not. So I really want to try it, but because it's not advertised as VOC free, I don't know if I should try it or not. But another thing that really makes me want to try it is on their website they talk about how their resins is like environmental friendly. It sounds like their resin is a lot better for the environment compared to any other resin brand. So that's another reason why I really want to try it. I would really appreciate it if you know more about the resins, if you would let me know what you think about the low VOC content versus the ones with no VOCs. Another brand that I've really recently discovered was called Culture DIY, and their resins are also advertised as free of VOCs. And I think from reading the reviews, I do think people say that their resins are pretty bubble free, and I found that really usually resins are thinner with like 2:1 or 3:1 ratios, but with those 1:1 ratio resins usually they are thicker. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I feel. But anyways, I am interested in trying their resin as well, but I think their resins are pretty expensive too. So, but yeah, their resins are also on my list. That was pretty much all. I hope this video was helpful, if especially if you want to try out some of the brands that I have mentioned, or if you're new to resin, exactly what to look for. I hope my video have helped you, and if you are like me, if you love working with resin, if you have a favorite brand of resin that you love, I would really like to hear about them as well, so please comment below and let me know. And yeah, that's all. So bye, see you next time. Thanks for watching.